Hello, and welcome to Optimizing Learning in Long-Term Care at the eLearning Hub. Today's session is hosted by the Ontario Centres for Learning, Research and Innovation in Long-Term Care, or the Ontario CLRI. My name is Elaine deVries. I use the pronouns she, her.
And my name is Emily Farrell, and I also use the pronouns she and her. Both Elaine and I co-lead and manage the Ontario CLRI eLearning Hub. And our organization is hosted at 3 different host sites across the province, including Baycrest Health Sciences, Briere, and the Schlegel University of Waterloo Research Institute for Aging. Now, although the program is situated across 3 host sites, we've developed a single program portfolio and capitalized on the expertise across each host organization to be an effective resource program for the Ontario long-term care homes and the sector. And the Ontario CLRI eLearning Hub is a great example of this.
We begin this presentation by acknowledging the land on which we are presenting from. While we are gathered virtually, Briere, where Emily is presenting from, is situated on the traditional unceded territory of the Algonquin Anishinaabe Nation. And the Research Institute for Aging, where I'm presenting from, is situated on the Haldimand Tract, land that was granted to the Haudenosaunee of the 6 nations of the Grand River, and are within the territory of the neutral Anishinaabe and Haudenosaunee peoples.
Today, these places remind us that our great standard of living is directly related to the resources and friendships of Indigenous peoples. This recognition of the contributions and historic importance of Indigenous peoples must be clearly and overtly connected to our collective commitment to make the promise and challenge of truth and reconciliation real in our community. Personal commitments connect each of us to these statements that become so easily taken for granted. So as settlers, our personal commitment to this acknowledgement is to be reflective of our privileges and the ways that our privileges can do both harm and good, and to listen and ask for support on how to do best in all of our relations.
In this session, we'll cover the benefits of e-learning as a modality, explain how we tailor our e-learning to meet the needs of learners in a virtual asynchronous environment, and identify how to optimize e-learning. We'll demonstrate how you as frontline care providers can consolidate your e-learning knowledge gains and ensure its use in practice, and how you as long-term care homeowners, operators, and educators can optimize e-learning to facilitate behavior and culture change within your home and foster a learning culture.
So why did we create this eLearning Hub? So before its launch back in July of 2020, our standalone courses were available to learners on the Ontario CLRI website, and the courses were scattered across different web pages, so it was difficult for learners to see all of our course offerings. We also didn't offer certificates of completion, so there was no record of learners' completion of specific courses. And we also had no way to determine ourselves if the users accessing our courses were finding them helpful. For our eLearning Hub, learners are now able to access all of our e-learning through any device. They can find all of our courses in one place on the Find a Course grid. The unique user profiles allow us to understand who is accessing our e-learning offerings. Users are able to access their completion record through their My Courses page, download certificates even months after completing a course, and users can record their completion of our courses directly on their LinkedIn profile with the click of a button. And we at the Ontario CLRI can also directly gain feedback on all of our courses to help us to create learning tailored to the needs of our learners and users.
Ontario CLRI e-learning courses have been based on evidence-based adult learning principles. One of these principles is that adults are motivated to learn if they understand and believe that the learning activity will be useful and relevant. Ontario CLRI e-learning courses specifically serve the learning needs of long-term care team members, as well as other groups who work or volunteer in long-term care. The courses therefore incorporate long-term care specific language, context, and approaches. Scenarios such as this one from the Communication at End of Life series include team members such as PSWs, realistic situations that occur in long-term care homes, and person-centered language and approaches to care. The introduction to each course also includes the learning objectives that specify the value for the learner if they take the course. A second learning principle is that adults are motivated to learn if they have a choice about what they are learning. One key way that the Ontario CLRI eLearning Hub courses provide learner choice is in being asynchronous, meaning that the courses are not at a scheduled time. Learners can start them when it is convenient and the best time for them to learn. As well, learners can learn at their own pace while monitoring their progress in the course. They can decide if they want to replay or reread materials, redo activities, or pause the course in order to return later. They also have the option to return to a course after they have finished it in order to review what they have learned. In the Ontario CLRI eLearning courses, learners often have the option to choose the order of learning activities or their pathway through the course. For example, in the course Caring for Persons with Dementia, a learning path through the course is suggested, but the learner can choose to go through the course in whichever order they prefer. In order to keep adult learners motivated and engaged, learning experiences should incorporate a variety of activities, presentation methods, media, and question types, interaction with the learning materials and environment, and visuals that add interest. In addition, new materials should be presented in small chunks with frequent review and practice of the new material to increase retention. Diving into one of our courses, Clinical Nursing Leadership Course 3, Being a Leader, helps nurses recognize how they can demonstrate leadership in their day-to-day work. After completing this course and the other two courses in the Clinical Nursing Leadership series, learners can download a Canadian Nursing Association accredited certificate of completion, which they can use for 1 credit of professional development. As in all courses, multiple means of engagement are used in order to motivate learners. In this course, for example, learners are asked to begin with some personal reflection questions about who they consider to be a great leader. Learning about leadership happens through watching a video scenario, learning about leadership practices and strategies, and seeing those practices and strategies being put into action in the video scenario. Learners then apply what they have learned in a number of short scenarios. In this course and in other courses, the presentation of information also involves discovery and interaction through clicking and exploring on the screen. Adult learners need opportunities to practice and apply what they have learned. In the Ontario CLRI eLearning courses, learners practice using what they have learned in different situations and scenarios in order to facilitate learning transfer to real work situations. For example, in the eLearning series on infection prevention and control, core knowledge and skills are learned in the first course. And then these skills and knowledge pieces are then applied by learners in long-term care scenarios, including traveling to and from a long-term care home and supporting residents at mealtime. By providing opportunities to apply knowledge in a number of different scenarios, as well as providing immediate feedback, learning gains become solidified and are more likely to be retained and used. Adult learners bring valuable experiences and prior knowledge, which should be valued and acknowledged. In e-learning, instruction should draw on and highlight the previous experience and prior knowledge of adult learners. For example, in the e-learning course, Team Essentials for Engaging Families in Distress, the introduction recognizes that learners have probably received previous training in customer service and patient-centered care, but that they may need additional training when interacting with families in distress. By assisting the learner to think about the training they likely have already received, It enables the learner to start creating a cognitive structure for the learning they are about to engage in. Courses for adult learners must exemplify the principles of equity, diversity, and inclusion. Underlying the development of all of the Ontario CLRI e-learning courses is a commitment to reducing barriers to learning and increasing accessibility for all learners. Courses therefore reflect the diversity of the audiences they were developed for and meet accessibility standards, including closed captioning and transcriptions.
Okay, let's switch gears now and let's look at some overall data that was compiled in the first year of offering our e-learning courses through the eLearning Hub. In 1 year, 4,334 people registered for the eLearning Hub, reaching 429 different long-term care homes across Ontario. And as you can see here, the majority of our users are coming from Ontario long-term care homes, sitting at 43.7%, and from the education sector, sitting at 30.3%. Within long-term care homes specifically, 17.7% of our learners are formal leaders, 24.7% are students completing placements, and 51.4% are team members or staff. And within that category specifically, so team members or staff, it's largely RPNs, RNs, and PSWs registering for the eLearning Hub. And finally, looking to our courses, our most popular is our Clinical Nursing Leadership Series, which consists of 3 courses, sitting between 1,200 and 1,500 completions. And then our next most popular is Caring for Persons with Dementia, with approximately 850 completions. And then from there, Eating Assistance, Lifts and Transfers, our Communication at End of Life series, and our newest course series, Infection Prevention and Control, are also some of our most popular. So what do we do with all of this data? We use all of this data and more to track completion of our courses, which essentially allows us to determine which professions are accessing certain courses the most. We also use it to understand the engagement level of our learners and how to make more engaging content, and also just gauge the effectiveness of our e-learning in achieving our targeted outcomes. The data also helps us understand what new topics and content and type of learning we need to develop. And finally, the data that we collect also helps to inform the design of any new courses that we'd like to create. I know that feedback surveys can oftentimes feel repetitive or pointless, but as you can see, it's how we learn more about your learning needs so that we can continue to create content that helps you feel confident as you grow in your role. A great example to highlight this, so we just analyzed all of our survey data for 3 courses that we offer about enhancing skills related to communication at end of life. And through this analysis, we learned that the scenario-based design of the e-learning series was really helpful, and there's a desire for even more scenario-based learning in this area. So some feedback that we received included, excellent, and the stories were all real examples of conversations that occur in long-term care. Another one, scenario-based education was really helpful and easy to understand. Adding more scenarios will be more helpful. And finally, I wish there were more scenarios. We also learned that courses have enhanced the learning experience of many students training to become PSWs. So some feedback we've received in this area includes, thank you for sharing this free module. It helps for someone like me who is still studying as a PSW. And thank you for sharing this e-learning module. This is very beneficial for healthcare workers, especially me as a student taking a PSW program. So this type of information really helps us to understand where we could be generating more awareness so that the e-learning reaches those that are benefiting from it the most.
We see that our e-learning is having an impact, but how can long-term care homeowners, operators, and educators help team members consolidate this learning and foster a learning culture within long-term care homes? Some suggestions we have for optimizing your team members' learning experiences are to provide opportunities for learners to ask questions, reflect and express opinions about what they have learned, make education and training opportunities easily accessible, recognized, and rewarded. Engage team members in creating learning by creating a mechanism for team members to give input about their own training needs. Encourage and support learning transfer by going beyond providing courses and workshops to facilitating knowledge sharing among team members and discussions about how to apply knowledge to practice. We would also encourage leaders and managers to model a growth mindset that values curiosity, continuous learning, and a coaching model. This would also include leaders and managers leading by example, demonstrating that they are curious and pursue ongoing learning and development opportunities.
And now turning to frontline care providers, let's walk through some ways that you can move your learning into practice, optimizing your e-learning experience. So first one up is through reflection. Take time to reflect on what you've learned and how it relates directly to your role. Second, make your learning social. So try creating a group of colleagues who want to, or maybe who have already taken the e-learning. Chat about what you've learned, what you'd like to change as a result of your learning, and how to bring it into your practice, and how to do that possibly together. Number 3, practice and repetition. Practice your knowledge in a safe environment, such as with a colleague or a friend. And repetition, repeat the course. A concept that maybe didn't quite click, try completing the course again and seeing if it clicks the second time around. And then finally, just dive deeper. So dive deeper into those topics that you want to learn more about or could use more practice or skills in. And the Ontario CLRI has many additional resources or even longer learning programs that directly relate to some of our e-learning course offerings. So keep your eyes peeled on our e-newsletter for all of our learning opportunities.
We'd like to close this presentation by encouraging you to make use of our e-learning hub and integrating our e-learning courses into your orientation or continuing education. Our course offerings are continuously being updated, so connect with us through our website, Twitter, and Facebook. You can also subscribe to our e-newsletter. Make sure you drop by the speakers gallery accessible through the landing page anytime between 12 and 3 p.m. today. You can ask us questions there or contact us directly through our emails with any questions or comments from today's presentation. Thank you very much.